there's an Orange Line train there heading in from Midway. We're up here at, actually we're on the northern end of the south side here, Cermak, Chinatown there. There's the view to the Chicago skyline there. Yeah, let me turn the chat on there. Chris, how you doing? Are we claiming, we streaming clear the rear here? Here, Chinatown here, 2200, I think so. Here, yeah, let's head towards the Pui Tak Center there. We'll head towards the Chinatown gate there. We won't spend too much time here. We got to make it back to Lake in Michigan by 1, so we'll do the best we can. Michael, thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, you see we're down here in Chinatown here, so I've been down here in a while. Hey, there's a Sox truck. There's a Sox truck heading down Cermak there. Chicago White Sox. There's a Chicago Public Library here. We'll show it here. So there, yeah, that's a relatively newer Chicago library. Look out, it has a green roof there. See the green roof on top of that library. And we're at the Cermak Chinatown station here on the red line. We'll head right down at Wentworth there. We'll just tour a block or two of Chinatown, and then we'll head back up to Archer. And we'll probably head upstate or Wabash and head through the South Loop there. So, Chris, thanks for tuning in. Hey, thanks for the feedback there. We're streaming clear the rear there. Good. Yeah, I think I figured out what I was doing wrong with the streams there. So now I'm able to get a stream there. But yeah, we'll head right over to the Chinatown gate there, Pui Tak Center. And yeah, we're about low 80s, 80 degrees. There is rain in the area. I might get a few sprinkles on. So you can look back to the skyline there. And we go over here. Well, we have to get out of the station to see the Sears Tower. We'll be able to see it under the Chinatown gate here. Taco's tuning in there, Zoom Patrol. Yeah, you know where we're at here. Thanks everybody here. Thanks Chris, and both, we got 2 Chris's and 1 of the Michaels here. That's great. So here, I know I'm earlier than usual. Look at, yeah, you know you're on the, you know you're in Chinatown here. Beautiful colors here, nice artwork. Isn't it nice how these stations customize, you know, just like the 18th Street stop there for Pilsen. And here, we'll head straight out of here. And yeah, happy Tuesday here, July the 8th, 2025. Of course, we've been here before. Hey, there's the bucket guys there where people get off the Dan Ryan there. And here, right off the bat here, yeah, there's some, I think these people are on the train with me. They're taking pictures here in front of the ceramic. Welcome to Chicago's Chinatown here. We were here wintertime. We were here for the Chinese New Year. And yeah, they had all the inflatables and things here, so we'll head around here. Well, hey, how you doing? Let's get say hey. And hey, even the street signs are in Chinese, either Mandarin or Cantonese. We'll wait to get it. Hey, we got the cross here, so hey, welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Cermak and Wentworth. This is the Chinatown gate here, Chinatown, Chicago. We'll go by the Pui Tak Center. And look at that. A lot of restaurants, a lot of people live here. This is one of the largest Chinese American communities in the United States. It's been here for well over 100 years. Chinese Americans have been in Chicago since the late 1800s. Of course, you know, with the railroads coming from California there, settled in the South Loop, then moved down to this area by 1900, 1910s. They built this in the late 1920s, the Pui Tak Center. This is now on the National Historic Registers. I'm glad it's got protection here. They just restored it. There's 2 Norwegian architects that were hired by Chinese American businessmen there. And they built the Pui Tak Center here in 1928, 1929. And it's Chinese Renaissance revival here. Look at that. Same with this Wentworth gate here, the Chinatown gate. You see how the Sears Tower is underneath it there? You see how that lines up there? And there's a fire station there. I know people often ask if this is the one used in Backdraft. I think that's in Brighton Park, or McKinley Park, Brighton Park, further south and west of here. But we are on the northern end of the south side here. And here Wentworth. We'll go down to the Moy building here. I want to show the Moy building. We got footage of all this. Again, we were here in wintertime for the Chinese New Year parade. That was a great time. You can watch those reruns on TikTok, but we're getting some footage here on YouTube. See Chinatown, welcome Chinatown. Yeah, this gate was made in the, I think, 1976, 1970s. It's been here for a while. And see, this continues even south of the Stevenson. We got all these restaurants and businesses here. Now the sun's coming out. Bakery. And it even extends. Chinatown's kind of spreading into the northern part of Bridgeport there. Hey Chantal, how you doing there? Krista, Michael, yeah, you want some noodles? Michael wants some noodles there. Taka and Krista's tuning in there. Nia's tuning in there. Thanks so much there, Nia. Yeah, that's Ben Sky there. Molly's tuning in there. Yeah, even people with Chinese characters. Thanks for tuning in here, seeing some of the cultural diversity here in Chicago. Here's Emperor's Choice. This is called the Moy Building, built in 1928. Another architectural gem here, should be protected, I hope. And look at those ceramic tiles there. Look around the columns of the details. Look at the dragons.
The samurai sword shop. Anybody?
Yeah. There we go. There's some people getting some samurai swords there. Legends Tasty House there, but there's the Moy Building here, Wentworth Avenue, Chinatown, Chicago. So this continues. We got more footage of it. I just wanted to get this as a starting point for this video, and then I got to start booking it back because I have barely enough time to walk back from here to get back to my office here, and that's why I hopped the train there. I took the red line to get down here. We got just before the noon hour here, Wentworth Street, Chinatown, Chicago. Thanks for tuning in here. Hope everybody's having a good day. Yeah, Cantonese cuisine, dim sum. Come down here for dim sum, get a brunch there. There's some churches and other things on the side street. And here, the Pui Talk Center is looking nice. Chinatown Gate. Yeah. Yeah, thanks everybody there. Mr. Bones on tour. I like these great names people come up with there. Yeah. Triple Crown. It's hot already. Now it feels hot and humid. Hey, Pui Talk Center. Yeah, they have church services. They got community center in here. And all kinds of other things. So what we'll do is we'll head up to Archer and then we'll cut over to either State or Wabash. And there you can see the skyline of Chicago. There's the Sears Tower, the library, and there's all this stuff. Yeah, we'll cross here so we can get some better footage of the Chinatown Gate when we cross here, and the fire station here, City of Chicago Fire Department here on Cermak. Cermak's a major east-west street here. Heads through the west side, west of here, and it barely touches the south side here. And those are Bertrand Goldberg designed those. Those look similar to the Marina Towers or River City. That's because it's the same architect. And here, yeah, look at these. As we back away here, we'll walk backwards, and we'll focus on the Chinatown Gate here as we cross here. Wentworth. We cross through. There's the Red Line subway station. That's what we took to get down here. See how easy it is. You just hop on the Red Line. You can actually take the Green Line and walk a few blocks too. There's this fire station here. Let's check it out while we're here. Yeah, people got umbrellas for the sun. It's good. Real working Chicago fire station here. Look at that. Yeah. There, look, there's the families there. City of Chicago, 1936 here. There it is. How you doing? What a beautiful Chicago flag. There it is, Chinatown Gate, Wentworth. Yeah, let's cross the street here. Here's the train. There's the Red Line train coming up from 95th, coming up from the south side. One stop south of here is Sox Park, Rayfield. And there's the gate there. People are honking because the tourists taking pictures here. There's a visitor center. You can ride a divvy bike down here. Chicago Public Library, 1152. So we're just using this as a starting point. Again, we got plenty of footage of Chinatown, both on TikTok and YouTube. I've gone here every year several times over my live streaming career. We've gone to the last 3 Chinese New Year parades here. We've got them covered, and there should be some footage of them somewhere in the archives. Yeah, 22nd. We made it to 22nd. It's pretty good for lunchtime. So here, we'll head up to Archer here. Chicago Public Library, Chinatown branch. Look, they got a green roof. Look at the people sitting in there. But it's pretty hot. There's the new Chinatown. So we've got, I don't have time to go through there. It's too hot anyway. We're just gonna head straight back through the South Loop. Hey, hope you're having a good Tuesday here. And Plaza Square. Yeah, there's a plaza over there. I got footage of all this stuff. We've been here several times. I know you might be new to my channel. I know how much time I need to get back. See, there's a pagoda-like structure over there. They call that the new Chinatown. There's a lot of shops all through there. And if I didn't have a day job, and if TikTok would actually pay me for my videos, they won't even pay me for the video that I posted of the John Hancock. I got serious grievances against TikTok. You notice how a lot of people that have really huge followings on TikTok are saying they're going to call it quits if they go to M. And people are serious, because we've got, I'm here on YouTube right now. The hell with TikTok. Screw TikTok, especially if Oracle buys it. And isn't it interesting? Remember what happened to MySpace after Rupert Murdoch bought it? It died a really quick death. And the people don't, look at Twitter and X. These things change. Look at this. It's a 3-dimensional mural here. Chinatown Community Vision Plan here. All the business leaders there. We talk about Ping Tom Park. Ping Tom was a business leader. That's why we've got footage of Ping Tom Park. They got a nice river walk. You can take the water taxi there. Chris and Brandon and I took the water taxi there last spring. And you can get right off there, Ping Tom Park, by the South Branch Chicago River, and walk into Chinatown that way. And that's what we did. There's several ways to get to Chinatown. The water taxi is probably one of the most interesting ways to get to Chinatown. And yeah, you left TikTok when they kissed the ring there. Yeah, thanks, trophy wife. Well, that's why I have a presence here on YouTube. I'm prepared for, I'm amazed TikTok made it this long, but I got an audience on TikTok, so we'll continue on TikTok and we'll continue here on YouTube. That's the 2 platforms I'm on. Here, Hilliard's Apartments, family and senior living. Now notice, doesn't that look like, especially these round ones, that looks like Marina Towers that we always go by on the Chicago River. It's the same architect, Bertrand Goldberg. Bertrand Goldberg's the architect of the Hilliard Apartments here. It's on the National Historic Register. Public housing. It's still public housing. It was much better maintained than the other ones that were torn down. And if you go back far enough, so longtime Chicago Cubs and White Sox fans know that in the 1800s, the Chicago Cubs were known as the White Sox. I know it's confusing. And briefly, both the Cubs and White Sox played on the West Side Park there, like when the Cubs won in 07 and 08, 1907, 1908. They played on the West Side Park there, and so did the White Sox when they won in 1906. I think they traded World Series through that period. Before that, there was a ballpark on the south side. There's hardly any pictures or records of it. It was in this general area. And we're at Archer and Federal. Archer and Federal here. We're about 20th Street on the south side here. We're going to head up to State Street. There also was the Everly Club. Does anybody know what the Everly Club is? Have you ever heard of a club called the Everly Club? It was a brothel. It was a high-class brothel for high rollers. And it was in this area. So, at the turn of the century, it wasn't just New Orleans. All major cities, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, had red light districts, brothels, and this was the area where they were at. So, or at least one of them there. Hey, Christopher, how you doing there? Yeah, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in there. And again, I don't give one shit if you don't like Chicago. If you do like Chicago, you can express your opinion. I'm not trying to get anybody to move here, like this city, dislike this city. I'm just showing where I live. You can tune in if you're interested. If you continue to make derogatory contents, I have no problem making sure you never see my content ever again. Please contribute something to society more than just complaining, you know, and I have to do the same thing. I could spend the whole portion of my broadcast just complaining about my personal grievances or how mean people are in the comments. No, you gotta gird up and just face it and just absorb it and realize this is part of life, that people express their opinions. And I don't care if people dislike this city. That's actually, I hope it makes my rent go down, because I like this city and I've been here for 26 years and this is my kind of town. But it's not for everybody. I understand that. Mainly for political reasons. We get people tuning in. They want to bash the mayor. They want to bash me. They want to bash big cities. Grow up. Big cities are not going away. It's a major part of our political and economy. And we got to find a way to coexist. I grew up in the country. I like the countryside. I visit the countryside. I do videos of the countryside. Just not often, because this is where I live. Here we made it to State Street, State and Archer. This is the South Loop of Chicago. See this housing? They added this housing probably a few decades ago, after 2000 here. And so, here, let's head up State Street. And 31 Flavors of Wisdom. I think that's a church called Awaken there. Look at this housing. So here we're on South State Street here. They got some terraces here. A lot of defensible space. They got gates. Here's a bike path. See, there's nice bike paths here on State Street. We're going under the Orange Line. This Orange Line gets you to Midway, south and west side of Chicago. And the Orange Line is one of the newer Chicago train lines. We'll see if one goes across here. Sounds like a train. Oh, there, right there. So that's the Green Line. That's the Green Line heading in from Cottage Grove or the south side of Chicago there. Yeah, Christopher checked out Chicago. I appreciated New Yorker's perspective. Hey, they're playing hoops. There's this interesting basketball court. We'll check it out. We'll cross the street there. And there's an interesting basketball court here underneath the Orange Line. If you ever fly in from Midway, there's really nice views to the skyline. When you come across the river here, you look to the north, you see got a dramatic view of the Sears Tower. I got reruns of that. See, we're underneath the Orange Line here. We're crossing South State Street here at 18th Street. 18th Street, you go that way, you cross the river, you end up in East Pilsen. And then you keep going west, you end up in regular Pilsen. 18th Street's one of the major commercial strips in Pilsen. We got footage on it. We went there after the White Sox home opener in April. I hope to go back there again, maybe for Fiesta del Sol, usually later this month. We were going to go down there for a mole festival, but they canceled it because of the damn ice raids. I am very against masked Americans throwing people in the back of vans. If you really believe in what you're doing, you should not wear a mask if you're working for the federal government there. Here, look at this nice basketball court here. Yeah, see underneath the train tracks. And here comes the Orange Line right on cue. We got the Orange Line heading around here, heading to Midway. Yeah, look at that. Scenes of the city here. Playing basketball under the Orange Line here. Look at that. Yeah, you came from O'Hare. Yeah, so you didn't see that. Yeah, the blue line is different. Yeah, I know you flew into O'Hare, Christopher. The blue line goes underground, then above ground, then underground, and you come in from Wicker Park. But yeah, if you fly into Midway, you can come in the orange line, and that's what this is, and it meets the green line. See how the green line converges here? And we'll keep on going here. Hey, there's a police station here, District 1 police station. Looks like they're working on it. So what time we got here? 12:02 in the PM. Looks like there's a dog grooming place there, dog boarding. Yeah, they got the dog kennel over there. That's why you hear some dogs barking there. We're just north of 18th Street here on State Street. So you can start counting down the streets. They'll get lower and lower until we get to 8th Street, and then they'll just disappear, because then they stop using the numbered systems. Actually, even around 9th and 10th. Here, let's just get the train going by. There it is. There's the green line. And some of the portion we can actually go under the tracks a little bit. We've done that before. There's some car detailing places here. Yeah, look at this. There's the city it works. Look at that. Yeah. Cleaning up the cars there. Denise, how you doing there? Heading back to New York in December there. That's good, Michael. Yeah, it's a Gatorade commercial. Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah, Christopher, yeah, you know, wintertime, even people live in Chicago, we question why we stay here in wintertime. Yeah. Yeah, Christopher covered the Nathan's hot dog eating contest there in Coney Island there in Brooklyn. That was nice. So here's Columbia College. Columbia College has so many buildings through the South Loop, which is great that these colleges, because a lot of students live down here too. And remember our friend Ken's, you know, they go to colleges here. There's the orange line heading to Midway right there. So see how it's the same with the green line here, and it'll split off and head across those. Yeah, we can see it head across here. There's the orange line. It'll make the bend here if for traffic coming. Yeah, we should be able to see it cross right there. Maybe there. Oh, there one went the other way. Yeah, look at that. One train goes one way, one goes the other. But hey, look at that. Look at the scale of that housing there. That's I think this was like a warehouse, and they like added floors to it. It's amazing. It's like a whole block wide. Amazing scale of the housing here in the South Loop. Yeah, he did a video. That's good. Roses in bloom. How you doing there? Yeah, here comes the train. So many trains go through this area here. Look at that. Yeah. So I think we can actually head under the tracks here across the street. Sounds of the city here. Here comes a car coming out. Probably. Yeah. Wait. So I think you could actually head under the L tracks here a little bit. Why I like doing it here. Remember when I came back from Southern Illinois, I caught that train in Effingham. You actually go through the Amtrak here, and this is a commercial railroad line that freight trains also use. The Amtrak uses it because they share the right-of-way. And then above us is the CTA green line and orange line tracks. There's the detailing. They're working on the car there, mechanic shop here. We're in an alley in between State Street and Wabash and the South Loop here. And one time I got some footage there. It was in landscape of the freight train going through there with all the graffiti covered rolling stock, and the L train going above. I like stuff like that, where you got multiple trains lines intersecting the three-dimensional city here. And again, if you just joined, we're in Chicago. We're about 16th Street and in between Wabash and State, underneath the green and orange line tracks, South Loop of Chicago. Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, it's kind of unique. Yeah, and you know, Chicago had a bunch of steel mills, so when they built the elevated train system, there was the capacity for the steel mills to make all these I-beams Imagine how expensive it was. I don't think we could ever afford to build this infrastructure today, and that's why it's priceless, this infrastructure that has been maintained for literally 133 years, the oldest line, which we're under. The green line is the oldest line. They built it from the loop to where the World's Columbian Exposition was going to be held, 1892, 1893. That's when the beginning of the Chicago elevated system, transit system was started. They were competing for-profit lines. It wasn't a government public works project. It was a private for-profit transit. They were competing lines, and that's where we get the color-coded lines when they were consolidated, and now it's a government entity, the Chicago Transit Authority, Regional Transportation Authority, RTA, CTA, and Metra Systems Public Transit here in Chicago. So here's a park. Let's check out this park. Yeah, we'll walk out here on, I think this is 16th Street. And yeah, Hubbard's Cave. Yeah, we filmed Hubbard's Cave sometime. Isn't that interesting? You got the Kennedy Expressway in a trough. You got a street, and then above the street you got metro tracks, and then there's a street above the street. So it's like bridges on top of bridges. And we filmed that area. That's in the north side of the West Loop there, River North. No, it's River West, River West. Such a weird area. That's near the Salvation Army that we were looking at this morning across the river. But here, yeah, we'll head right over here. But hey, thanks for checking out the Darren Monroe says never walk under the hill tracks. It's good advice. Darren Monroe lived in this city a lot longer than I have. Look, there's no poop fairy. There's no poop fairy. Clean up after your dog, yeah. Look at this park. So where are we at here? We'll get you intersection here. We'll head over to Wabash. Hey, we're doing good on time. We might make it back. Hey, there was a yellow parakeet. Look at this yellow bird. What is this bird? My bird lovers. I've never seen a yellow bird like that. Look at that brightly colored yellow bird here in this park. I'll get you the name of this park if I can here. Yeah, it's like a parakeet. Does that get out of somebody's cage, or is that a native species? I've never seen a bird like that. Yeah, we got some good steakhouses. We go by Gibson's. That's not the only one. Chicago Chop House, Gene and Giorgetti's. There's a lot of good steakhouses throughout Chicago. Here, 14th and Wabash. 14th and Wabash. Coliseum Park. Coliseum Park. We'll get the train coming by here. There's the green line heading across 14th Street. But hey, scenes of the city here, South Loop of Chicago. Nice park here. So here, yeah, let's head up Wabash here. Let's cross the street here. Here's the Buddhist Center. There's the Soka Gakkai International Buddhist Center here. 14th Street in Wabash. 1455. Yeah, here's some of the housing. There's that park, Coliseum Park. Some of the housing, and typical housing of the South Loop, similar to the West Loop. They add those balconies to some of the converted warehouse buildings. It's a goldfinch. Thanks, Chris. That was a goldfinch. You see that yellow bird there? Yeah, look at the nature in the city here. Danny, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, so we started in Chinatown. Now we're heading through the South Loop. We'll see if we can make it back by 1 o'clock. I know there's rain in the area. And if the rain holds off tonight on TikTok, we'll head up by the beach, but that remains to be seen. We'll see if the rain moves out here. We'll see if we even make it back to the lake in Michigan before the gets sprinkled on with rain here. But it's public storage here, housing. And we'll head up through here. So I think we're coming up to 13th Street here in Wabash. Look how they painted over. So they just painted over. That was probably concrete or terracotta faces at the top. And there's, see, this is a converted warehouse that they turned into storage, just like the Reby moving in storage. And look how they just painted over the detailing there. That's what happens when you're not in a protected historic district. But at least the building's preserved. Use as public storage there. So I guess that paint could be removed if it has to one day. But look, even above the door there, they got like a little fish and 2 turtles. Look at that. See, we never put ornamentation like that nowadays. No one has the money or time for it. Hey, how you doing there? Thanks for saying hello. So there's a daycare here. 14th Street. I thought we, see, yeah. See, you got 14th Street and then you got 14th Place. This happens when you get to the south side. Sometimes there'll be 2 streets in a row named the same number. It'll be like the half block. Here's 14th Street. I guess the last one was 14th Place here. There's some more artwork there. A little park for the housing there. We've seen similar sculptures to this. There's one actually so very similar to this up in Old Town that the same artist there, same style. Look at this housing here. This is 14th and Wabash. Secondhand news, July 11th at the Metro. Hey, go to the Metro July 11th, see secondhand news there. The band. Hey, Roses in Bloom there. How you doing there? Yeah, it's a strange area here. It was sunny this morning, and this kind of overcast moved in. I see there's rain in the area. It looked dark to the north, but it's not too bad right now. But here, we'll head up Wabash here. There's the train. There's the L train there. Head through. Scenes and sounds of the city. I like walking the streets that parallel the elevated tracks there. You got goldfinches in Maine? That's good, Donald. How you doing there? See, they're all over the place there. That's the first time I've seen a goldfinch bird in a while. We saw a yellow bird. 13th and Wabash. Yeah, now we're going up to 13th and Wabash. So there, Festival of Life, Washington Park there. July 11th and 13th there, Washington Park on the south side. Island plates here, tropical drinks. Hey, look at the Yoda. You get the Yoda drink, you get the baby Yoda shot glasses. What is this? Hawaiian, Asian outpost, Hawaiian hideout here, established 2013. Aloha. We got I wish Kahala could see this. Here's my place, authentic Chinese cuisine there. There's the Sears Tower. So now you see where we're at. We're south of the Sears Tower there. We're down at 13th and Wabash. There's Flo Santos. You go to Flo Santos, LA 10. Look at that. Look at this. 1307 Wabash. Look at the detail with the bricks. See how they got just a simple Art Deco detailing here. Look at the door there. Now it's a residential building here. I guess that's the grocery store, so we're just south of Roosevelt. Roosevelt used to be 12th Street. We'll go by Buddy Guy's Legends here. We'll just continue up Wabash here for a while. Yeah, look at this. This is like Art Moderne. That's an Art Moderne building. Look at the glass block. See the telltale signs of Art Moderne. You got glass block, and you got that curved entrance there. Here goes the orange line. There goes the orange line heading into the city from Midway. 2 train lines. That's why there's a lot of train traffic in this stretch. Crossing 13th Street. Look, that says 1790, the Thornton Building. See how it has the name at the top there? 1890. All right, good. Let's go. Let's go. So here we'll head up Wabash. A lot of storage places around here. Yeah, I think there's a Jewel Osco here, grocery store. So there's a big box retail grocery chain here with parking for the South Loop. Because when the first people, like the people that first moved in Printers Row and stuff in the 80s, 70s and 80s, there were no grocery stores in the downtown at all. This didn't get built until like 2000. And there's the Roosevelt station on the red, orange, and you could transfer, you could transfer to the red at Roosevelt. You could transfer from the green and orange, which are above. There's the orange line pulling out of the Roosevelt station. You see the Sears Tower there, that's Roosevelt, in between Wabash and State here, South Loop of Chicago. See the Wabash tap? I don't know if it's still open, doesn't look like it. Nothing lasts. Jewel Osco. Yeah, there's the train line there, Dunkin' Donuts. Hey, Sears Tower's looking nice. That's good. How you doing? So here, we'll do a check on gas prices here. Look at the high rises here. You got the gas station with the high rises because Grant Park's right there. All these buildings have amazing views to the lake and the skyline of Chicago. So here we'll do a check on gas prices here at the BP. And $3.99. Yeah, these are expensive gas stations here near the Loop of Chicago. This is the South Loop here. The Pride, $3.99. Gas prices are going back up. Hey, Roosevelt. There, look, there's the CTA there. There's the green line going in there. Yeah, let's cross the street here. Roosevelt. Look at this nice building. Look at the detailing. Trader Joe's here. So there's another grocery store. Here's a two-way bike path. You gotta look both ways here. I've used this bike path. South Africa's tuning in. How you doing there? That's great. Yeah, we got some Nando's peri peri chicken here. It's a chain, of course, but that's the closest thing we get to South African cuisine here in Chicago, which is nice, you know. But here, we're in the South Loop of Chicago here. We're on Roosevelt. I'll head over. There's an interesting, well, okay, I want to show this sculpture. I do want to show Buddy Guy's Legend, so we'll head up to Balboa and then we'll go back to Wabash, but we'll skip this section of Wabash. We'll head through Grant Park because I want to show these walking sculptures. There's a collection of a bunch of metal sculptures here, and there's a skate park around here. So there's planned to be another tall tower right there. No one's holding their breath to when it's going to start, but you see these are pretty tall here. You see them at the south end of Grant Park, and Soldier Field is behind here. They got some seating here. This is the intersection of Roosevelt and Michigan Avenue. So we'll get to see the whole street wall of Michigan Avenue. We were near here for this NASCAR streetcar race. Sometimes we go down Michigan Avenue. There's some nice housing there. There used to be an Aurelio's Pizza, but I think it's shut down right here. There's still the subway. And there, so you can see up to the St. Regis. We're over a mile south of that. That's Grant Park is over a mile, 1.1 miles north to south, and about a half a mile wide. Hey, nice dog there. So you can take this bike path, and it connects right to the lakefront bike path. There you can ride through the park, actually. And here's Michigan Avenue. There's the street wall of Michigan Avenue, all the way up from Roosevelt, some of the housing here. And again, when I moved here in 1999, only this building was here and this building. Everything else you see here has been built since 1999, including the 1000M there and this building. This was here, and the lower hotels, but this was the only high-rise residential besides this one. This was like nothing. They built those low-scale buildings. Central Station, there used to be a railroad station here a long time ago where all the railroad tracks would come through here, and then they built the Central Station housing there where Mayor Daley used to live before Mayor Daley II, Richard M. Daley is the son. And then he moved up to the Heritage, whatever they call it. These are the sculptures I want to show here at the southwest corner of Grant Park. You got these sculptures. We'll get you the name of the artist. It's at the north end. They got a plaque there. But look, one time someone was like, go to the sculpture where everybody's walking around. I'm like, what are you talking about? They were talking about this. It's just a bunch of legs, no heads, no arms. It's like the land of confusion here. Someone's tuning in right now. They're like, what is this guy doing walking around these metal sculptures here? I bet some people use it as a restroom too. That's what I'm doing. But here, welcome to Chicago here. Yeah, there's Sears Tower. There's the 1000M, Michigan and Roosevelt here. We're checking out the sculptures. Yeah, it's pretty clean. Lorraine's tuning in. That's great. Steven's tuning in there. Maylee, how you doing there? Yeah, we try to. I don't think, I don't think anybody from New York is worried about Chicago, but yeah, we're the other city here, the second city. We're different than LA. Every city's unique and has its own advantages and disadvantages. Look at that. Look at those 3 towers. See, there's planned to be a 4th just as tall as this, is not taller, but I guess they're waiting. I don't know what they're waiting for. We need more housing. The problem is affordable housing, and that's we got plenty of housing at the high end. That's the problem. And so there is a plaque to this. I must have missed it. And maybe it's on this sign right here. Let's see. Probably just says don't. Yeah. So you can look it up. That we in other videos, there's an artist, I think is a nice person with a yeah, I can't remember their names. Does anybody know the name of the artist that created these sculptures here? We can look it up, and I could, if you ask me in the comments there, I can look it up for you. My brain leaks. I can't keep everything in my head there. Pete's tuning in there. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. there. How you doing there, Roses in Bloom? Yeah, Ebony and Jet magazine had their headquarters near here. And yeah, we talked about the Wayman Church this morning. We went by the Wayman Church where Dr. Martin Luther King gave a speech in 1967 in Chicago when he lived in Chicago in 1966 on the west side. Here, look at this skate park here. So there's a skate park here. And actually doesn't feel too bad here, even though it's 80 degrees since it's overcast. Hey, skateboarding there. Yeah, do some ollies there, do some tricks. Yeah, got some rails here. How you doing? And I've seen TikToks and reels where people have ridden motorcycles in there. You're not supposed to wreck them. All kinds of things happen in this skate park, but it's well used. Every time I come here, people are using it. And it's a good place to learn how to street course, you know, without riding the traffic there. Look at that. Yeah. There he goes. So here, we'll head across here. If we go up to the top here, we get an overview of the whole thing. Agora sculpture by Magdalena Abakanowicz. Thank you so much. Thanks, very lucky guy. Thanks for looking that up. See, we crowdsourced it. Thanks so much. Yeah, check out very lucky guy. It's called Agora. I knew it had like a Greek name. That's the Greek name, but then the Magdalena Abakanowicz is not Greek. But there, look at, or it could be. There's 1000M. All the people walking around there in the Agora. So here's the big trough for the metro. Look at that beautiful skyline view looking north there. The whole street wall of Chicago there. The Hilton Hotel all the way up to the Aeon. And if you look this way, you see that's the Roosevelt skyline. That's what I call that, the South Loop skyline. And here's the skateboard park here. Yeah. Yeah, doing the ramps there. Look at that. Going on the rail there. See you doing some tricks there. Oh, almost. These guys are braver than me. But see how that's cantilevered? It's actually portions of that building are above the building next to it. They sold the air rights above their building. They did that cantilever there. So here we'll head back to Balboa and we'll go show you Buddy Guy's Legends, and then we'll head back towards Lake in Michigan and Millennium Park there. Yeah, Lambie T's tuning in, Merck's tuning in. That's great. How's everybody doing here? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah, for some reason, oh, there you go. For some reason yesterday, we got a bunch of people tuning in. And I really think in hindsight, we were walking. I honestly think this is what happened, and you'll never know. We were walking near the Italian village there, and if you watch that rerun from yesterday, something made a loud boom, and it sounded like a pew pew. And you saw, no, actually we were on, I take it back, we were on, yeah, we were by those fountains there by the BMO Harris building there, Dearborn and Monroe. I think we were right around in there. And, or maybe we were a block up, maybe we were at Madison. And because it sounded like a GUN, gunshot, I think that's what put a bunch of people in my life. People thought that there was a pew pew, and all of a sudden there was 250 to 300. We had 470 people at the peak, and it didn't last long. And so, isn't it amazing that the algorithm, they thought that there was, it sounded like because it sounded like a cannon went off, and it was something dropped from a truck or something. And I think that's what put a bunch of people in my life. But 16,000 people saw the video yesterday, and to me, nothing remarkable or different happened. We went down the Riverwalk, we went down LaSalle Street. You see, now we got just 77 people watching. It shows you, I do cover the South Loop, I do cover the West Loop, but not as many people tune in to see that. They just want to see the tourist stuff. It's just what it is. Here's the, or they want to hear the pew pew. Here's the, we seen this earlier last week. We went by here. This is Logan. He was Major General Logan here for Illinois in the Civil War here. And yeah, we'll head over to Balboa here. So let's go by this beautiful garden here, the fountains. Yeah, this is where the hippies gathered in 1968. They put a Vietnamese flag on top of there, and then they fought with the police riot. The whole world's watching. The infamous Democratic Convention, 1968 in Chicago. The Blackstone Hotel, we'll go right by it there. And thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, it's a beautiful afternoon. Let's check out these beautiful gardens here. Look at these flowers blooming here. So hey, we walked all the way from Chinatown. We were down at 22nd Street in Wentworth, and now we're already here. 12:30. Beautiful gardens. There's the Hilton Hotel that was used in The Fugitive and other movies. And we're in Grant Park here. We were here for the NASCAR. Thanks everybody tuned in for that. We got footage on YouTube and TikTok. Oh, something happened in front of the Channel 7. Okay, so maybe that coincided with my live streaming. Remember a year ago in the wintertime, we were live streaming when those two people were, pew-pewed under Wabash there with that school. And we saw the aftermath of that when the police rushed over there. We were live streaming. So that makes sense. Yeah, I saw some things that showed up at Channel 7. Yeah, on State Street, the police responded to, and maybe that's what that noise was. Maybe it was a pew-pew. This is Chicago. And the way the people reacted, I actually went back and watched the rerun. There was two young women. They turned around and almost like ducked for cover when they heard it. Which, isn't that amazing? That's people's involuntary response when you hear a loud noise like that in this city. Here's the fountain here. This goes back to the World's Columbian Exposition. We showed this earlier when we were checking out the NASCAR setup pre-race last week. Here, let's head over to Michigan Avenue. We'll head up to Balboa here. So here, HC International. Yeah, I have no idea what you're asking there. And so we'll just let it be, unless you can clarify your question there. I don't understand what you're asking. I do my best to answer questions I do know the answer to. I'm not for sure what you're talking about. So if I don't even know, why are you asking me? You said I don't know there, so if I don't know, why ask? Here's most of the time when you live stream, you're just confused. At least I am. Maybe you're better at it than me. So hey, everybody watch their channel and ask them questions. Here's the Hilton. Look at the detail you got on this building here. Goodness, was used in The Fugitive. And we've gone inside. They got beautiful ballrooms. We got reruns there. This was the largest hotel in the world when it was built. just like the merchandise mart and other things like that. We were over here for the NASCAR, and this is where we saw the wreck on turn 7 here at Balboa. And here's still some of the barricades are still here from when this was the street race. But look at this detail. Look at all that coat of arms and stuff they got in the building. The Hilton here. This is Michigan Avenue. Hey, Street Home Chicago. Oh, someone's afraid of Chicago. Yeah, we get that a lot. We get people that watch that have no intention of ever coming here, which is fine. I'm like, just watch the live streams. I don't work for the tourism bureau. I'm not asking anybody to come here. If you don't feel safe here, stay away. You know, here's the Blackstone Hotel. See, that's from the '68 convention there. And here's the Hilton here. So here, let's see if we can cross the street here. So here's the aftermath of the NASCAR street race. We saw it on Saturday and Sunday, and this was actually part of the street race here. And here we'll cross the street here, and then we'll cross over Michigan Avenue. So we'll show you the Blackstone Hotel. Here's the, yeah, they're taking down the barricades for the NASCAR street race, which was just held July 5th and 6th. We got reruns of that on both TikTok and YouTube. There's the Spertus Center, a Jewish Center of Learning there. We'll have to check that out sometime. And here's South Michigan Avenue. And there's the Hilton Hotel. You see how there's multiple wings here. Here's where we just came from, the south loop of Chicago. We got 9 seconds, we'll cross. But yeah, here's the aftermath of the Chicago street race. I'm gonna get a drink of water here really quickly, and then we'll head across the street. Hey, we got the light here. So here, Balboa, Michigan Avenue, the Essex Inn. And there's where Ebony and Jet were down there. Here's the Blackstone Hotel. Here's looking up north up Michigan Avenue. I just want to show Buddy Guy's Legends here. We're Balboa and Michigan. We'll head down to, head 1 block west to Wabash and Balboa here. I want to show the Merrill Reskin Theater here. What's this construction crane? Wow. Let's see what they're building over here. Hey, the Merrill Reskin Theater there. I think DePaul University runs it now. So here's the Blackstone Hotel side of it. Hey, there's the train there heading through. And that's the Cook School, I think, behind there. No, it's the Jones School. Is it the Jones School? Yeah, it's the Jones School. The Cook School's in Old Town. What am I talking about? But here's the Merrill Reskin Theater here. It used to be called the Blackstone Theater, just like the Blackstone Hotel. And it's here on Balboa, in between Michigan and Wabash. Yeah, the Blues Brothers. We talk about the Blues Brothers all the time. I'm glad you remember the Blues Brothers. We got a whole generation that doesn't even know what the Blues Brothers is. I'm an old guy talking about this late 70s, early 80s movie. Look at that crane there. Look at the Sears Tower behind there. So let's see what that crane's doing there. But here, look, they got these nice murals here in the doors. And here across the street, this is called Buddy Guy's Legends here, Balboa and Wabash. This is a blues venue here in Chicago Blues. And there's Columbia College, has a theater there. And here we'll head across Balboa, and we'll see what this construction is. It's a new building going up here. But there's Buddy Guy's Legends there, and you can check it out there. Here, Votes for Women. Columbia has all these nice murals here. There's Blackstone, and look at that rabbit up there. Hey, Roses in Bloom there. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, we've seen this movie before. So here we'll let's see what's going on here. Yeah, they're building some new construction here. So this is the let me get you an address here. Hey, there's the train going by. There's the orange line heading through here. Looks like this is what they're building. They're building some mid-rise housing here. There's going to be a pool on the top, so there's some housing. Look, they're hauling the material right there. They're coming this way. There's an active construction site here, right across from me. So we're in the 623, the 600 block south of Wabash. There's new construction here. There goes the orange line heading by there. Here's Harold's Chicken. Harold's Chicken, you can find it all throughout the south side there. There's some even on the west and north side, but Harold's Chicken here. Here's the one in the south loop. Lacey Swan. Himalayan restaurant, but here's Harold's Chicken. The Chicago classic there. Much better than KFC. And look how the train's leaning there. It goes around the curve there. It's heading into the loop. There's the orange line heading across the murals there. We got about 80 degrees here. Look at the detail in this building. We're here at Wabash and Harrison. See, now we ran out of numbered streets. Once you get to Balboa, the streets are no longer numbered and they become presidents' names and things like that. But see those murals, you got the Harmony, there's the Paul University, you got the Moose blowing the bubble, and you got the suffragettes there. We'll see if we get the train heading through here. So they still got the grandstand set up for the NASCAR. So let's just document these grandstands before they take them down. I'm surprised they haven't taken them down. Chris Gustafson's tuning in. There's a great view to the Roosevelt University, the auditorium building there. See, that's the extra floors they added that made the building sink on that side. And that, can you believe that was the tallest building in Chicago for a brief period there in 1892? Louis Sullivan and his partner Donkmore Adler. Roosevelt University is there now. It was the auditorium. It still is the auditorium theater. There is still an auditorium theater there, but the university's there. It used to be a hotel and offices, and they used it in the Untouchable movie, Untouchables. See, Columbia College is all over the South Loop here. We got 1239. 36 years. Well, hey, well, thanks for watching virtually, Denise. You don't have to come back here. Thanks for at least tuning into your old town here and seeing what's changed in 36 years. Isn't it amazing? See, I'll take the risk. It's fine. I appreciate your attention here. I'm not asking anybody to come here, move here, spend your tourism dollars. You can go somewhere else. Just watch my live stream there. That's all I ask. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. It helps more people find this. And you don't even have to spend any money. Just give a thumbs up there. Like the live. Appreciate it here. Bethany, how you doing there? So here's still the grandstands. There's the grandstands for the NASCAR. Now they have taken down some of it. There's just one section left. It looks larger. See, there's the big bus going by there. Look at all the people taking the tour. That's what we saw. We saw that. It's amazing here, the roaring engines. This is the haunted Congress Theater here. Yeah, we saw some of these. That's the room I couldn't get to, but we got to this room, the gold ballroom. We got footage. It's like real shining vibes there, the haunted Congress Theater. Remember, we went in there, we snuck in there, Congress back as a hotel. But hey, they're taking down the grandstands, the last of the NASCAR grandstands here. We were able to get over this section when the race was going on. We got some footage and the pre-race there. Party hard, yeah. That's what you do there. Alvarez, how you doing there? Bethany. Thanks, Maria. Thanks for tuning in there. How you doing there? Thanks for watching here on YouTube. So they still have some of the streets closed here. They still have Ida B. Wells closed. They still have Balboa closed. They didn't even have the barricades removed on Balboa from the race. And shows you how NASCAR takes over the park. It's controversial because then they immediately have to start setting up for Lollapalooza. We'll wait to cross the street here. Actually, we'll cross here. And then we can stay on this side here. Hey, Michigan Avenue. There's the train going by. Stuck. The train's stuck. There's the Roosevelt University, the auditorium building there. See how thick the walls are, load-bearing walls. Look how thick the walls are there, and it's sinking on the one side. But here, we'll head through here. We'll head through this plaza. You can see the Bowman and the Spearman. They're taking down the grandstands for the NASCAR. There's the Spearman, that's the Bowman. Spearman's on the other side there. The artist purposely didn't put the weapons in there. It's just, you have to imagine them. And they guard either side of Ida B. Wells. This used to be Congress. There's the Ellen on the other side there. I guess that's the Spearman, that's the Bowman. And look at this Beaux-Arts City Beautiful movement here. Look at the beautiful street wall here. Look at these. That used to be the Studebaker Theater in there. See how it's multiple layers. This is William LeBaron Jenny. I'm pretty sure William LeBaron Jenny. It's called the Fine Arts Building. And he was known for his buildings. The early skyscrapers, they look like they were multiple buildings stacked on top of each other. That's how they did it. Maybe they added some floors there. I think that's what happened. And then that's a private club. Is that the University Club? I'm not for sure. No, the University Club's further down. This is the City Club or something of Chicago. And then here's some of the metropolitan buildings, some of the commercial buildings at front Michigan Avenue. See, they're taking down the NASCAR here. 404 South Michigan. That's the address. Van Buren. And there's the roundabout that gets you up to Ida B. Wells. Here's the entrance to the Metro. Looks like the Art Nouveau French station there in Paris. Look at that lights even. It's not the Metro, it's the Metro. They're redoing that station too. There's Van Buren. So here we'll head up to the Art Institute. We'll go right by the Lions. Hopefully my connection will hold out. Sometimes we lose it there by the Art Institute, but we'll give it a try here. Hey, you're originally from Chicago. That's great. Yeah, the stone buildings, load-bearing walls. The whole street wall here along Michigan Avenue. This is protected here. There's the Motorola. It used to be the Santa Fe building, Santa Fe Railroad. Metropolitan building. This is a beautiful building. Look how they added this balconies on the side. And these buildings have big courtyards in the middle, big light wells. Look at those round windows at the top. The old Santa Fe building, now Motorola. I've been in that building. You can look in that interior courtyard. I think VOA Architects had offices in there. And it's beautiful. But here we'll head right past the Art Institute. We'll end up in Millennium Park here. So thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, it looks like most cities. You're right. There's nothing special. We're not the best or the worst. We're just a big city with big city problems. You know, because I generally try to stay positive, because if it's a choice, what am I going to do? Badmouth the city I live in? No, I live here. So, you know, I'll acknowledge the negatives, but I'll point out the positives every time I can. Because I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be, but that's just my opinion. I'm biased. There's the top of the Sears Tower. We'll go past Route 66, begin side. See, like, they still got some barricades here. This was part of the street course here for NASCAR. They're still taking down the course here. We'll go by the Art Institute of Chicago. And, yeah, they still have this closed. I lose my connection when I go in there anyway. Here's the Symphony Hall here. Symphony Center in Chicago, this red brick building. And they got a nice balcony, symphony, acoustically advantageous auditorium and then inside there for the symphony. But here, the Art Institute of Chicago, one of the great museums we got here. You're originally from Brooklyn, now you live in St. Paul. Hey, that's good. Yeah, St. Paul's nice. Minneapolis, you got that train connection finally between St. Paul and Minneapolis, which is nice. You can get from the airport to Minneapolis downtown, then you can transfer to go to St. Paul. Isn't that nice? Twin Cities. Hey, I think the Cubs play the Twins, right? Or is that right? Is that what's happening today? Let me check my other phone here. Hey, we've got a nice baseball rivalry here. Let's see here. Let me make sure I got that right. Hold on a second here. More games. Yeah, the Cubs played the Twins, 6:40 today. So there you go. I thought I saw that. Here's the Lions. Here's the Lions in front of the Art Institute of Chicago. Yeah, look at that. Get this nice view. Yeah, thanks, Dolores. That's a good way to put it. See, it's just like a committed relationship. Yeah, all relationships have challenges. You take the good with the bad. Look at the Sears Tower. So here's the begin sign for Route 66. I point it out every time we go past here, the begin sign, historic Route 66. This is Adams Street, right across from the Art Institute. And see, here it is. Gustave Kelly Botte painting his world. I can't say his name right. Here's the Lions here, Art Institute Chicago. Hey, 12:48. I didn't think we'd make it back here. We'll just take 10 minutes. We'll head through Millennium Park. We'll see if the symphony's practicing, and then we'll head back to work. So we went all the way from Chinatown through the South Loop, walked under the L tracks, went through parts of Grant Park, saw Buddy Guy's Legends, and now we're gonna head through Millennium Park and head back to work here. So 80 degrees here. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good Tuesday here. And that explains it. That's why so many people tuned into that live yesterday. There was some incident that happened at lunchtime, and since I was live streaming, Chicago was trending because something bad happened in the news by Channel 7 there. You know, if I would have picked a different route, I would have walked by there. I didn't see anybody in the comments telling me where the incident was at. I just heard people bad-mashing me, and here goes the Chicago Fire Department hazmat teams heading through here. So here we'll cross, this is Monroe here, Monroe in Michigan. We got 16 seconds to just get across here. Hey, the food trucks are out here. Monroe Street, just north of the Art Institute. So I'm not going to stick around and let, if the Crown Fountain spits out the water when I walk past, we'll film it. If not, we'll keep on going. I'm not going to wait around for 5 minutes. I don't have time to do it. But here's the Divvy Bike Station. You know where we're at there. There's the Chicago Athletic Association Hotel, the Willoughby Tower here. We'll head into the Crown Fountain here. And then we'll head right by the Bean here. Hey, look, this little bird was trying to eat that watermelon there. Hey, getting a piece of watermelon there. It's good. But here, yeah, we'll head right past the Crown Fountain. It feels cool. I feel the cool water here. That's nice. So here, Millennium Park, Chicago, Illinois. 80 degrees here. We got 12:51 in the p.m. here. And yeah, Chicagoans volunteered to put their faces on here. Every 5 minutes they spit water. And for about 20 seconds the water comes out there. We got plenty of reruns of that, so I'm not going to stick around and wait for it to happen because I can't stand to stay in one place. We've been really moving here. There, let's head over to the Bean here. Yeah, what's it matter? You're never going back. How you doing there? Yeah, $2.50. Thanks for answering that. Yeah, $2.50, the CTA train ride or the bus or the train, CTA trains. Yeah, the Cubs versus the Twins there, 6:40 there. Yeah, there's plenty of African Americans and Asian Americans. Where have you been? We were just in Chinatown, and we just were on the south side of Chicago. So what are you talking about? Now we're back in Millennium Park, so it's a lot more touristy. You know, just like Times Square in New York. Not everybody that's here at the Beans is from Chicago. A lot of these people might be still here for the NASCAR race and other things. The demographics of Chicago, and of course, it's not a well-integrated city. There's people are segregated by income and ethnicity in certain cohorts, but generally the city, within the city limits, the 2.7 million people that live within the city boundaries of Chicago, not the suburbs, it's about a third African American, about a third Latino, and about a third what you call European or white or Caucasian, whatever you want to call us, and about a 10% Asian. So that makes 30s, 90 plus 10 Asian. And the Asian population is growing, and that includes South Asian like India, Pakistan, which is some of it's on the north side. We went through Chinatown, but there's also the new Chinatown, the little Chinatown called Little Vietnamese, little Saigon there, and Uptown. And if you go along Devon Avenue on the north side, it's South Asian. But those are just concentrations. Everybody's spread all out the city. There's people live in the suburbs. There's a lot of Asian people live in Skokie. And even some of the inner city, or the inner neighborhoods, are predominantly African American on the south and west sides here, like Maywood and Blue Island. Here's, look at that, Double Clutch Brewing Company here. Here's the Bean, Millennium Park here. That's where they do ice skating down there. So here we got 1254. There you can look underneath the Bean there. Everybody's taking pictures there. Yeah, look, people doing selfies there. I don't want to get anybody shot there. Yeah, Great Bean of Chicago. So I'm going to head back to work. I work near here. That's why I'm heading back here. I'm going to work 4 more hours in the office there. And then after 5 o'clock tonight, we'll be on TikTok. And we'll just head home. We'll probably go up to the beach on the way back. Well, we'll see what the weather's like. I know there's rain in the area. So we'll see what it's like after 5 there. We'll play it by ear. But I will be heading home. If it's raining, we'll just take the train or something. There's other ways to get home. But hey, the Great Bean of Chicago, Millennium Park. And they were practicing yesterday for the Grant Park Music Festival. I think they're going to have a concert at tomorrow evening, Wednesday. Or Tuesday here. Yeah, roses in bloom there. See you at 5, hopeful and blessed. Yeah, you know the drill here. You know the cycle. Yeah, we're all getting old. 40 cents. Wow, that's good. So, here's we're looking down Washington Street into the loop of Chicago here. And we'll just head right back down to Michigan Avenue. See, I didn't think we'd make it back in time. 12:55. Can you believe we walked all the way from Chinatown to Lake in Michigan here? Just over an hour. Hey, cleaning out the garbage there. Yeah, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere there. How about Fountain? So you're asking me to do more work here? Please check out my reruns there. Maybe what you're looking for is in my reruns there. You can search by keyword. I use hashtags. I got over several hundred videos on YouTube. We got literally thousands of videos on TikTok. I'm the same name there, Brian Really Chicago. I have 5,000 followers here or subscribers on YouTube. I got over 94,000 followers on TikTok. Thanks for tuning in here. I'm not the only live streamer in Chicago. You can find some other Chicago live streamers and maybe they'll be more accommodating than me. I'm kind of my old age. You see what you see. You know, earlier in my live streaming, I made more attempts to go to the south and west side. Now I'm just kind of getting complacent. And mostly I just film my commute to and from work and talk to people here. We meet people in the street, just show the weather and scenes, pieces of my life. My little piece of Chicago doesn't represent the whole city of Chicago. I never I never attempted to be that. I can't be everything to everybody at once. Whatever I stream, someone always asks to go somewhere else, film something else. It gets old, as you can imagine. I feel like a horse. People are like, go there, turn around, you're saying it wrong. And it's just people giving feedback. It's just the nature of everybody gets it when you live stream. Hey, look at the one wheel. But here, I'm gonna head back to work here, and then we'll be streaming on TikTok after 5 tonight. We'll round out the last stretch here. I think we'll get the light here. Yeah, we got the light. So here, Randolph Street. You can see over to the Nederlander there. There it is. But we covered a lot of ground today. We're both on TikTok and YouTube here, so thanks for tuning in here. We did check out the West Loop last week, so if you want to see the West Loop, look back in the reruns. We covered the South Loop today, Chinatown a little bit, just barely. I didn't get to the new Chinatown, but we got reruns of that. We got reruns of all that, both on YouTube and TikTok. Message me if you can't find it. I know it's really hard to find content. It all stacks up. And appreciate your attention now. We'll head up Michigan Avenue, and we'll head back to work here. Yeah, Lady T, thanks for tuning in there. That's Van Sky. Good vibes there. That's okay, Lady T. You know how YouTube works? If you go to my page, you go to the live tab. On my page, Brian Riley Chicago here on YouTube. There's a live tab. You can watch the beginning of it. You can rewind. You can watch the full video from the beginning at any time, like now, like TiVo. You can rewind. Can somebody teach Lady T how to rewind and see the Chinatown that she missed? That's the good thing about YouTube. You can always rewind. You can't do that on TikTok. I have to cut out a clip. It immediately gets uploaded to my live thing. You can, if you miss something, if you want to see, you missed a building, I went by it too fast, you can go back in the rerun, watch it again, give me a thumbs up there, give it a like. And if you can always message me in the comments. I try to read most comments and get back. If you got a question, you can message me. Just find any video, give me a message. I usually answer every message. It takes me a while. If I miss it, we'll get to it eventually. And thanks for tuning in, Lady T, and everybody else. You can watch the Chinatown rerun at the beginning of this live here. So I'm gonna go back to work. Thanks to my mods. Thanks to everybody else. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, there's Chinatown at the beginning of this, just a little bit. Then we walk through the South Loop. There's the Wrigley Building, 80 degrees in Chicago, 1 o'clock on the dot. Be kind, rewind there, Scott. Yeah, Lady T, yeah, you know how to do it. So yeah, just watch the beginning of the video there. You didn't miss anything. Thanks a lot. And we'll go back there. So have a great day. See you, Genesis. And yeah, screw the Trump Tower.